So this comment recently popped up on my Masters of Teras Kasi video, and while I vehemently disagree with the Street Fighter EX series being bad, the other half of the comment caught my eye. The bit about the Dragon Ball Z for PS1 being bad. I, much like every male under the age of 50, know the Dragon Ball series, and of course I am a fan of it, to a certain degree at least. Fighting game wise though, I can say I'm only familiar with the arena brawlers in the Budokai Tenkaichi series, and obviously the more recent effort in Dragon Ball Fighters, which, while I did fall out of playing that game at a point, I can't deny that the first 6 months or so of that game was utterly magical, before they added all the overpowered fusion characters Kid Goku and now Lab Code 21. But we're not here to talk about the fun stuff. We're here to talk because a random commenter said a PS1 Dragon Ball Fighting Game is worse than Masters of Teras Kasi. Will it be worse than Warriors of Ravenloft though? Well, here we go! Dragon Ball Z Ultimate 22, the 5th game in the long-run Butoden series. Series of fighting games that began humbly on the SNES, and curiously, until Ultimate 22 at least, never actually came to North America. These were Japan and Europe exclusive titles, till much later, obviously. Ultimate 22 released in Japan on July 28th of 1995 and to Europe the following year, then very curiously found its way to North America on March 25th of 2003. Why the gap? No idea. At least I couldn't find a reason anywhere. You may also be curious about the game's name, Ultimate 22. Well, that's actually pretty simple. The game features a 22-character base roster with a pretty decent spread of heroes and villains from all across Dragon Ball Z's storied history. Additionally, there are 5 secret characters to unlock, which you do by just entering a code on the menu. Seriously, it's just right there in the manual in black and white. Figured characters would be unlocked by beating the game or something, but hey, I'm not complaining. Less work for me to do overall. Fun fact though, after you enter this code, the main menu updates to Ultimate Battle 27. A nice little touch. Can't lie, I'm also pretty happy with this game's roster because it gives me a playable Mr. Satan, Hercule for us Westerners, if you weren't aware. Also, I must say, I'm not an expert on Dragon Ball characters by any stretch, but I'm pretty sure this is Gogeta, not Vegito. Also, Vegito isn't even spelled right. Anyway, 22 gives you a handful of modes to play in. Simple arcade ladder, of course, where you have to battle every character in the game. There's also this build-up mode, wherein you select a character, and you can level up your chosen fighter by defeating other characters. Which, I don't really know if leveling does anything but up your total health, but hey, it's another mode to play, so that's good at least. And there's a tournament mode, which didn't let me play because it requires 2 players to play, and once again, friendless loser. Since this is a fighting game show, this is obviously a fighting game. 1-on-1, 2 life bars of health. Do battle until someone stops breathing. Startlingly, this is the first ever fighting game I've ever played that has no start of round talk. Characters drop in and bam, fight automatically starts. Every game needs one of those fairly hype intros like BB Tag.
Couldn't bear another day without you in it. All of the joy that I had for my life.
Or Street Fighter Alpha 3.
Hey, come on, stand up, face it straight.
Well, I guess I'll have to do it myself. Bienvenue, Power Bottoms! You ain't from Michigan if you ain't done this before. Round 1. Reach heaven through violence. The first thing you'll notice here is how ugly and boring these stages are. Good God! Dragon Ball Z has some nice locations for combat, but everything here just looks so bad. My favorite here is the mash of lint that makes up the crowd here in the World Martial Arts Tournament stage. The characters, on the other hand, are okay, I guess. I recognize everyone for sure, but I think these models are quite fuzzy. The models being 2D here also clashes very hard with the 3D stages too, in my opinion. It just looks kind of bad. The game looks bad all around, really. Keeping on with aesthetics and such, the sound in this game is not particularly great either. I'd say one of the brighter parts of Dragon Ball is its very crunchy sound design, and oh boy, is its absence here quite noticeable. Also, I do have to take a moment to comment on the load times, which are pretty long. Can't lie, definitely way longer than normal for sure with my normal PS1 games. But let's get to what matters most here, the mechanics. Well, I gotta be honest, these ones also aren't great. Base movement in this game is very slow. Your walking pace could be best described as glacial. You do have a run to compensate for this, but you can't do anything out of it. You just soar at your opponent fast as possible, have to come to a stop, and then you can attack. Thankfully, this is subverted a bit though, since most characters in this game seem to have an advancing attack of some kind. I say most, but I'm kinda lying since I have to be honest, I only played 2 characters. They have them, so I'm gonna assume everybody has something similar. These types of moves though are how you're gonna be moving across the screen most of the time, since I do believe they're safe on block, and it puts your opponent in block stun pretty heavily.
Dynamite okay, dynamite okay, dynamite okay.
He can also fly, which means nothing, really. It's just another plane to do battle on. That's it. Attack-wise, you can punch, kick, throw energy blast, and you have two kinds of special maneuvers. Melee ones, which cost no energy, and your energy attacks, which do. Your energy meter is where you conjure up this energy from, and if you ever deplete this bar, you are stunned instantly and have to recover for a short duration. You can regenerate your energy by charging, of course, and you typically will want to do that since your energy attacks, whether they be the simple energy ball or your big boy special damage attack, are pretty damn useful. They track, which is a good feature, of course, but mostly they're useful because they do a shit ton of damage.
Jesus!
They also look like absolute shit. Ah yes, the famous and feared Kamehameha, a blob of piss yellow energy. Not a gigantic beam like it's been, literally always. But even though these attacks are useful, honestly, it's much better to just spam whatever your advancing melee attack is. They're 100% free, do good damage, and some can cover the whole screen occasionally. Did someone mention Mr. Satan? No? Well, I need a transition, so I just did. When it comes to our good old friend Hercule here, I'd like to point out that since he doesn't throw energy attacks, he has no energy meter, so he'll never stun himself throwing out his high damage special attacks. He can do this entirely for free. He might actually be a top tier in this game because of that. Sure, he can't fly or run, but who cares when you just huck an atom bomb at children for fun? Fuck yeah, Mr. Satan for life. I went through the arcade mode with this guy. An arcade mode which awarded me with nothing on completion. No endings, no bonus characters, obviously. No, nothing, really. Just credits, back to menu. All said and done now, let me slap this old bad boy on that fighting game list. Ultimate 22 will, ultimately, end up as the new number 9 on the search for the worst fighting game. For sure, Ultimate 22 is not a great game by any stretch. It's clunky, fairly ugly, and overall not really that fun to play. It wasn't an absolute slog by any stretch, but it's not something that I'd ever consider going back to. Maybe this game was good for the time that it was released in Europe and Japan, but it's so bizarre to me that this one saw a release in North America in 2003. You know what Dragon Ball game came out a year prior to that release? The first Budokai game. Yeah, imagine getting Ultimate 22 instead of Budokai 1 for Christmas. And yeah, that's it, right? The really bad Dragon Ball Fighting game for PlayStation 1 that guy talked about, right? Right? There couldn't possibly be another one, could there? Oh god. Oh god. Oh god! There really is a whole nother one, isn't there? You know, I actually smashed out the entire 22 playthrough and script before realizing that it wasn't actually the game that guy was talking about. This is the game he was really talking about. Dragon Ball GT Final Bout. Drizzling out onto the world like fetid diarrhea in the year of 1997, this game was actually the first Dragon Ball game to ever be released in North America. Man, Japan must really not like us, considering this is the first Dragon Ball game we got, on top of those stupided down Final Fantasy games they blessed us with. Final Bout was another extension of the Butoden series, and was obviously based on the GT sequel to Dragon Ball Z. The GT series, which is wildly maligned by basically every Dragon Ball fan, and at the time of its release was barely even known outside Japan at the time. Let's talk about the good. The intro is a banger and the music is good. Alright, that's it. Now onto the bad. I need to know what absolutely shocked me right off the bat. Since this is a fighting game and one that had a training mode available, I hit the lab immediately to try to suss out this game, of course, but what I found was, get this, when you knock the training dummy down, it doesn't get back up. It just fucking lays there.
I can't get up! Help me! I can't get up! Help me!
I've never encountered this before, literally ever. Dummies have to get back up, otherwise the lab is pointless. I fucking can't with this game already. Ultimate Bout features an okay-sized roster with 17 total characters. Some have to be unlocked by beating them in an arcade run, and there's one boss character as well. Super Baby, if you were really that curious. But let me tell you about another thing that completely put my balls in a fucking salad shooter. Give a listen here.
Now, should I clean the trash of the universe? You're the one who will disappear from this world.
What the fuck? That's not Piccolo. That's not even close to his voice.
Sorry to keep you waiting. If you want to blame something, blame your own.
I checked around too. This isn't like some foreign British or Oceanic dub voice either. This is his voice for just this game and this game alone. They literally just grabbed a bunch of random actors for this dub, none of them being the original VAs. In fact, the voice actors in this game aren't even credited, and people had to piece together the cast by comparing voices with people working for the company that dubbed this game. Strangely though, combat noises are still in Japanese. Why they didn't get the English VA to try? Not sure, but let's call that a blessing, huh? Which, honestly, none of the voices matter too much since the music will be outblasting them most of the time.
Now I'm going to get serious.
You can't beat me. I can tell without fighting you.
Hey, another little blessing. Visually, Final Bout is blocky and hideous. Characters are recognizable. I guess that's a plus. The environments, though, holy fuck. I know I keep calling everything ugly, but look at this. You feast your eyes upon these hideous battle maps. DBZ has some iconic locations, and they've never looked this terrible before, or since, really. Complementing these visuals are the attacks, which look like hot garbage, and have seemingly no impact whatsoever. The sound design here is passable, at least. The attacks featured here in GT Final Bout at least sound somewhat close to the show, but it's still not a one-to-one replication. The camera is also very bad in this game. It's so herky and jerky, quite often struggling to keep up with, this incredibly fast-paced action you're seeing here. Sound design is, unfortunately, terrible. A stark contrast to, the anime, which has always sounded amazing, like I mentioned. Let's get to the combat. Short answer, it's shit. Long answer, hoo boy. The movement in this game is awful. It's so slow, clunky, and it just feels incredibly delayed. Not to mention you barely move at all with the walk inputs. I've never used controls this bad before. Obviously, this wretchedness extends into the combat as well. Good luck doing any effective combat maneuvers with controls this stiff. You need to be very precise to get your specials to come out, which obviously you want them to come out. Because once again, projectile supers do an assload of damage. Much like 22 though, your best bet is once again to spam whatever your rushing melee attack is, since it moves you around the screen more effectively than walking or running. You can win every fight in this game doing that. Hell, that's what I did. And it worked! Can't lie though, it was a little dicey on smaller characters since old Piccolo here had a nasty habit of clipping right through them almost constantly. And I know I mentioned earlier that projectile supers are really strong again, but you want to avoid using them here actually, since the AI will always answer with theirs immediately, which can initiate a beam struggle. A beam struggle that the game does not inform you that you have to mash buttons to win. I guess that's kind of instinct at this point, so maybe I'm just being petty. Well, at least the Kamehameha is a beam in this game. That's something. Something over Ultimate Battle 22 at least. The mechanic introduced in this game is the Meteor Smash, which I think is supposed to be like the throw, essentially. You trigger it with some button presses. In theory, because I never actually got it to proc correctly. Yeah, I sure did though. And it Meteor Smashed me. Again. And again. And again. Yeah, in this game you can just keep chaining Meteor Smashes forever, because I know people love being chain thrown to death. Thankfully you can tech out of it, but you wouldn't know how to do that unless you read the manual. It's the same as throw teching in any 3D fighter, really. But also, look at it in the manual. A mechanic should not take 2 full pages to explain in full. Gotta keep it simple for people to understand. Let's just try to finish this up now, I'm very tired. The final boss, as mentioned earlier, is Super Baby. He's a big old SNK boss that can annihilate you in a few hits, and he takes way more punishment than a normal character. Thankfully, he isn't immune to the tried and true tactic that got me to the endgame. So he wasn't really an SNK boss at all, honestly. Just a stupid monkey. Outside the arcade mode, Final Bout features a tournament mode and a build-up mode just like 22, but I don't care. Training mode and the arcade mode stuff was enough for me. Thank you very much. I'm gonna say it. Dragon Ball GT Final Bout is the new worst fighting game I've ever played. It's bad. They really cranked up the diarrhea dial with this one. Holy hell. It's crappy. Controls like shit. Looks like shit. It basically is shit. You know, when I first started this quest for the worst fighting game, my mind was basically made up that Warriors of Ravenloft was going to be the absolute bottom of the barrel. Even before I reviewed it. I was so damn sure nothing would ever dethrone that game, but I went to the bottom of the barrel prematurely, and I just ended up finding a trap door that led to another barrel. The future of this series is even more terrifying than it previously was. I didn't think we could get lower than Ravenloft, but here we are. Anyway, my dearest viewers, my name, as always, is HadesManticore. This was yet another video here on City State Manticore. Thanks a ton for watching, and you're welcome for helping you to avoid this suffering. Please do leave a like to alleviate my agony, and subscribing will help with the existential dread I feel right now. A comment will also help with the crippling loneliness I always feel. I'll see y'all in the next video. Goodbye.